Welcome to the Roundtable edition of Generations, a show which helps people 50 and better lead happy, healthy, and productive lives. Hosted by Nadia Giordana, and here's Nadia.
Hello and welcome to Generations, the Roundtable edition. I'm Nadia Giordana. Co-hosting with me today is Karen Riesett.
Yes, hi.
Welcome, Karen. And Elly.
Hello.
Nice to have you here today. And Jackye Whitner.
Hello. Thank you.
Welcome, Jackye. We are talking today about art appreciation. And in honor of that, we have Kristin Makholm, who is the Executive Director for the Minnesota Museum of American Art.
Yes,
Welcome, Kristin.
Thank you very much.
Why don't we start out by you telling us a little bit about you and your role there at the museum?
Sure. The Minnesota Museum of American Art is St. Paul's only art museum. It has been around for a very long time. Many of your audience might remember this museum as the St. Paul Gallery and School of Art back in the 30s and 40s and 50s. So the museum has had a long life in St. Paul and several different homes. So some people might remember it in an old mansion on Summit Avenue. Others might remember it along with the St. Paul Science Center in the Art Center on 10th Street, where now the History Theater is. And they might remember it at the old Women's City Club building, the beautiful Art Deco building on St. Peter Street, also known as the Gemini Building. We were in the second floor of Landmark Center for a long time and the West Publishing Building. The museum's been peripatetic, to say the least. And now we are located in the Pioneer Endicott building in downtown St. Paul, where we have a lively gallery called the Project Space, where we do exhibitions of many Minnesota artists of both past and present, and we bring out works from our collection of over 4,000 works into that gallery. And we have our offices in the Pioneer Endicott, and it's a place that we're planning on building a new home, a new larger home for the museum going forward. So there's lots afoot, and we are really interested in what the Minnesota Museum of American Art can bring to the landscape of arts, not only in St. Paul, but in the whole metro and indeed throughout the state. We do send exhibitions throughout the state of Minnesota, and so we really want people to know that we're for the state and for artists throughout the entire region. So I'm the executive director, so I'm leading the charge. I am a curator and art historian, so my background is in art history. I have a PhD in art history, so I've been looking at and curating and thinking about art for a very long time, so I hope I have something to contribute to your art appreciation conversation today in that regard.
Oh, absolutely, and there's a lot that it's offering for the community too, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. The community, everything we do is free in our project space. So anybody can come through and see our exhibitions. We have events where we coordinate with the McNally Smith College of Music, where we bring music into the exhibitions. We've been able to do some art making classes. We do tours and events and openings, and there's opportunities to become members of the museum so that you can receive information in your inbox about all the things that we're doing. So it's very important for us to be accessible and open and welcoming and show people lots of different types of artwork that they can, may not love every show, but they can certainly be inspired and learn something about how to approach art and think about art. So we want to make it approachable like that.
The classes and things that you offer, are they for young and old alike?
Oh, absolutely, yes. I mean, we don't put any differentiation. We don't demark who our programs are for. So we have young folks who come through. We have programs for the St. Paul Public School kids in the spring, and we also have programs that people of any age can come through. So I really feel that if you put on good art exhibitions, that are thoughtful and approachable and interesting, that anybody of any age can come and learn something and appreciate something. So yes, anybody can come to the museum and experience what we're showing.
Where do the artists come from?
Well, we have a curator of engagement. That's the fancy word for our curator, Christina Chang, who puts together exhibitions of artists from all over, actually. We do a lot with Minnesota artists. In particular, the Minnesota Museum of American Art has a strong commitment to artists from our region. Emerging artists, as well as older, more accomplished or seasoned artists, mature artists. And so Christina goes out and finds the artists that we work with. She has an idea of the sorts of things that she'd like to show. I have an idea of the sort of things I'd like to bring into the project space. We focus on craft artists a lot. So those artists who are working in new media, say of ceramics or glass or wood. And in fact, there will be an exhibition this fall in the project space of craft artists. And we also like to call our collection to do collection shows. And in fact, this summer there is a show called Summertime, which is going to be from our permanent collection, and is a fun way to bring out some things that people maybe haven't seen in a while by artists that in some cases are recognizable and in other cases are not. So that's the fun part about delving into the collection. So we go lots of places to find artists for the exhibitions that we show.
Now, Karen, I think you had something you wanted to share today.
Well, my husband and I moved into a downtown condo 25 years ago, early days of living downtown. But one of the things that attracted us was the fact that there were so many working artists living in Lower Town in particular.
Okay.
And then it came about that there would be art crawls twice a year and a couple of galleries down in that area of Lower Town. And then we started looking around too at other venues for art, like the Landmark Center, where the Minnesota Museum of American Art was located at the time, and followed your path into different buildings and so on. And, you know, it's just really, really nice to see this all developing into something more substantial now. And one of the things that we were very excited about was the Minnesota Museum of American Art, because you are doing such a good job of outreach to people, to bring people there. And when there is a show, what I've enjoyed immensely is the fact that you often have the artist, or you'll have someone else do a little presentation and a little event around that, which is like a reception. And you know, those are free events for people. That makes it very affordable and easy to get to on the Green Line now. But you learn something when you can go to those events, you know, because, you know, what a better way to learn what's being presented than to talk to the artists or talk to the museum representatives who can tell you all about it. So it's just such an exciting addition to the art scene for St. Paul, I think, and yeah, for the whole state.
And Karen, didn't you recently pay a visit to the Union Depot?
I did, and I was attracted to the fact that there is public art being installed at the Union Depot. The depot was just completely renovated in a beautiful way, so the architecture is extraordinary, but the setting now for the public art is very exceptional too, including some really, really extraordinary murals. And the murals depict history of railroading in Minnesota. And those murals were done by a famous mural artist from outside the state. And the Minnesota Museum of American Art hosted several events and sponsored part of that installation of that exhibit, which that will become a permanent part of the Union Depot. And There are other public art pieces that have been installed there also, and I just find that a wonderful new location for art in St. Paul.
Thanks, Karen. And maybe this would be a perfect point for me and the co-hosts to get up and do a walkthrough right here at the SPNN studios. We have some artwork to take a look at, and we'll be back to join you, Kristin, in just a minute or two. Shall we do that?
Sure. Let's do it.
Okay, here we are at SPNN. I'll be your official guide for this little art tour. And along this hallway, there's that one and then these two big ones that you can have a look at and
Okay.
figure out and tell us what you think.
It looks like
Is this a photograph?
in
Yeah.
I believe
photograph.
that one is a photograph, yes.
Yeah.
However,
I'm not sure how
That's-
the artist made that technique happen, but look at that.
Very unusual.
Sparks the imagination,
it sure does.
doesn't
yeah.
it? Yeah.
Very nice colors.
Yes.
Very
Okay, let's go
pleasing.
down the hall.
Let's take a look at this other one here. Yeah, this is a big canvas. How interesting. Soothing in the color tones.
It's busy.
Mm-hmm.
The geometric patterns are interesting. They're not hard lines, they're kind of soft lines that
And there's a
blend.
fluidity.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay,
Lots of
then the
curves
next
in
one
it.
down.
Lots of curves.
I like this one a lot because
This
it's like
is
nature. I
interesting.
can see.
I see
a-
nature.
I could, yes, I see a grasshopper.
Where?
He's right here.
Oh, I think it
Oh,
might
it's
be. I
Looks
might.
like a grasshopper and it looks like he's sitting on a twig and there's a tree and
Feels like
there's
spring to
water
me.
and
Yeah.
rocks. So to me, it's that, I like that. I can see what
You
is in
can
it.
see a lot of
Yeah,
nature
yes,
in
a
that.
lot
I
of
do
nature
see.
in it.
It feels like spring to me.
Yeah, and the
Yes.
colors.
Mhm.
The colors. They're a little bit subtle and muted, but that
Mhm.
is soothing.
There are these two, which I believe are photographs.
Okay.
Okay.
The skyline and something,
And there's a bee,
Mhm, I like
a
that
nature
top one.
kind of thing.
but the technique or the filters.
this one.
Yeah, I love the skyline especially.
I like the top one.
That's
with the-
sunset.
Yeah, the light coming
The
down.
bee
on
and the light
bee.
coming down. Yeah.
That's kind of like sunset or.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh, I'd love to have that one on my wall.
Now, right over here, here's both a painting and a photo, which seem to have something in common.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same artist?
Yes. Yeah, these are all the same artist.
You know what I like about this, because they do have something in common. Obviously, that one's a photograph, that one's the artwork, and I wouldn't want to separate the two, would you? I like seeing the two of them together,
Mm-hmm.
Do you see
tie in.
one exactly in the other? May I ask?
Yes,
Yeah.
almost, almost.
Okay.
Almost.
This part right here
That section right there.
is right
That's just
here.
an enlarged
And that's an
Yeah.
enlarged. That's a piece.
representation of that.
If you separate the two,
You'd never know it.
you'd never know.
Okay. Now we just have 2, 3 more to go.
The one,
These are all the same artist.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. I
Every
didn't
one of
realize they
them.
were all the same artist.
I like this
Okay.
one because I can really see what it is. It's like water coming up the upper rocks onto a lower rock that's sitting in the pool of water.
You have a good
The
eye
water.
for that. It makes me think a little bit of Salvador Dali.
Oh, my.
I kind of like this one.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
finally, I
So
think there are 2 pictures over
The
here.
grays and the pastels.
Oh, there's nothing around the corner. It's the Statue of Liberty right there.
Yeah.
On the back side.
Well, I think that's the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, it is the Statue of Liberty. But the edges, that's interesting, how whether it's a filter on a camera or what that is, that causes a very nice effect.
yeah, same thing with the bird.
Mhm.
I love that bird.
The
Okay.
colors in all of them are similar.
Yeah.
There's a repetition
There's a
in
warmth,
the
yeah.
color, and they're very nice, comforting.
These two
Okay.
have a theme of kind of still.
Mhm.
Okay, well, now, so far, the artist has chosen to remain anonymous, and he's tucked away in the editing studio, and I'll go get him, and I'll be back in a second.
Okay.
Okay.
It comes out.
There he is.
Oh, he thinks it has Ian. So, yeah, this is one of my hobbies. And everything, all the paintings are, the ones that are paintings are all based on photographs I took. So it's kind of like an attempt to make real life look abstract is what I'm trying to do.
You know, there's enough variety that it did seem like different artists. I didn't realize, I knew about one or two, but I didn't know about that.
I like that one.
And I've
Yeah.
seen your photography before, but I didn't know that
Yeah.
you've also been doing paintings.
Well, actually,
How
a couple of your
Well,
terrific.
thank you for putting up with me.
Nice to see the beret. Red is your color.
Yes, okay. Jackye was very good on that one picture, because what I did is I had a little rock pool, and I put some colored markings here, and then I put my hand on the water and went like this about 75 times, and one time it came up looking a little like a face, so, you know, that's a little tough.
How about the, like halos around the far pictures on the wall?
To get that effect, you need to get the sun right behind the object you're photographing, like the Statue of Liberty. I got in a position where the sun was right behind the thing, and then in the editing, you sort of exaggerate this and that, and the color, where the sun sort of
With all
shows
the
through.
little spotty stuff, that
Yeah.
it just appears?
It does, yeah, after you manipulate enough different
Yeah.
things, so.
That's
It's something you really have to experiment in,
Yeah.
you know, and I
Yeah.
sort of stumbled upon.
Wow.
Okay,
Wasn't that interesting?
it was, like the nice pictures.
Yeah, what did you guys think?
I really enjoy seeing all different types of art, and it always surprises me when I look at some art and think, oh, that's so abstract. I'm not sure that I've been a fan of abstract art. But then when you look a little bit closer and you have a little bit more explanation and you can share with other people what you're seeing and experiencing, you discover new things that you hadn't thought of before.
Well, and suddenly you start to feel something, don't you? Even if you're not sure you like the piece of art in the first place, you start to notice things and you start to feel something when you look at a piece of
Right.
artwork.
And I was amazed at the fact that this was one artist with all these different types of techniques, you know. It was just one person doing all of them.
Broad range of talent.
Yeah,
Yes,
very much.
That was fun.
yeah. I'm not an abstract person. I grew up looking at realism, and that's where my eyes go, right to it, because if I can identify what it is, I find the appreciation a lot more. I don't like having to turn sideways and upside down to figure out what it is. I like to know what it is, and I find art in a field of flowers, side of a barn. And I just find things that I can identify with, and that really makes me invokes some kind of emotion.
I came across an article recently that said you can boost your creativity by looking at art. And sometimes I think we have to be an art-making person in order to get the benefit from art. But they're doing research that's showing that activity of looking and appreciating and trying to understand more about the art you're viewing, it actually improves different synapses in your brain and gets thoughts going in a positive way, and is a real healthy thing to be doing.
Well, and I think we do need the appreciators too for the art. We can't just all be artists. We're all an artist in one form or another, but it is nice to have the appreciators. And I kind of think sometimes that as we get a little bit older, and when you say, Kristin, that as people get a little bit older, maybe it's just that they have more time when they're retired or semi-retired to begin to appreciate and participate more with artwork.
I think it's the time quotient. It's the ability to be able to come and visit, and not being so strung out on the rest of your life with your kids and your job and things like that. There's more time to be able to contemplate, to reflect, to maybe come back to an exhibition once or twice. because we offer different events, such as what Karen was mentioning. You can meet the artist at one event, you can talk to a curator at another. You also have a lot of quiet open time during the day where you could come and read labels. We don't have extensive didactic labels, but we do give people information so that they can also experience it a bit on their own. We have sometimes a publication that you can review as you're looking at it. So I think that the ability to spend more time and to return to look at an exhibition or a work of art or a piece of public art or anything is a joy that you can really stoke as you get to be an older individual and have more time.
I think it helps too when you are at an exhibition and you're enjoying the art. I don't know about other people, but I have a tendency, because I seem to always be in a hurry, to rush through that experience. And if you slow down and take a little bit more time, I get more out of it if I can remember to do that.
I try to make sure that wherever I'm visiting another city, that I find an exhibit to go to, and I still have favorites in New York, I have favorites in Chicago, and I have favorites here, and I have favorites in other places, and it's not just art on the wall or pictures. It can be hieroglyphics, it can be things that you really can connect to, and that's what I don't do any artwork. I'm still in the stick people form. I mean, I can do a stick person, but I don't do any kind of painting or anything. But as growing up as a child, we had pictures on our walls, but they weren't abstract pictures. They were pictures of people actually doing something, and it could have been somebody thrashing on a field of flowers. I don't ever remember my parents saying, oh, we're going to go out today and we're going to go and find some artwork and we're going to buy it. No, that was not the way it was. It was like art was on the lowest level of the ladder, because all of your money went to the necessities. So we had pictures on our wall. There were pictures of people, pictures of things, pictures of sunsets, pictures of flowers. Sometimes there's pictures that you go and buy the frame, and you like the picture that's in the frame, so you never take it out. It stays there. So that's how but as growing up, I learned to appreciate art in a lot of different forms, and my favorite art is still the out of doors and the things that are out there. Rather than abstract person, I have to see it and feel it, and then I know what it is.
Landscape artwork. And,
Yes, I love that. I love it.
I grew up drawing all the time and painting.
I did too.
Yeah. And I still love it to do it. I'm a watercolor person, so that's where my appreciation lies. But I do like all kinds of art.
It helps with the appreciation. If you can do a little bit, you can appreciate what went into it from the standpoint of the artist also.
Right.
It's strange when I see myself doing something, I see stick people, but I can look at a painting and tell you exactly what's on it.
Yeah.
I have that kind of an eye. It's here that it stops.
Yeah.
When the hand, I don't do it.
Well, like I said, we need the appreciators also.
Yes.
Right.
It's also what it does for the mind and keeping the mind active and thinking and being engaged with different sorts of things. I think that the great thing about museums and about art galleries and looking at art is that it keeps you fresh in looking and in thinking about things, and maybe having to get to something that's a little more difficult that may make you have your brain has to go through these motions of considering and thinking and expanding. And this is a wonderful way to keep you just engaged and keeping your mind moving. And it's and reading about the art and listening and being and just art is a way to really spark it's the synapses of the brain in a way through that creative impulse that maybe
It
some other
really
things
is,
cannot do.
How often during the course of a year, or maybe it's seasonal, does the museum change out what you're going to see when you walk in on the walls or the events that they do?
Well, our exhibitions turn over about every 7 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, I would guess. And so we like to keep it fresh and lively and really dig in while the exhibition is up. But we understand that audiences come for different things, and we want to be able to provide opportunities for people with all sorts of different interests. Now, Jackye isn't interested in abstract art, but I would like to think that, for an example, we have an artist named George Morrison who's very strong in our collection and will continue to bring his work out at times during the years. He deals with the landscape, he shows the landscape, but in a very abstracted manner. So it's a way for you to sort of come towards abstraction in a way that you might not have done so in your normal course of life, and allow you to expand the way you appreciate and think about things. And so that's why we like to change it up to keep those experiences interesting.
When does the summer exhibit start?
Summertime exhibition opens on May 14th.
May
So
14th,
it is already open, and it goes through into August. So that will be super fun and lots of different things for people to see, and very fresh. You'll want to wear flip-flops when you come to see that exhibition because it'll feel warm.
It'll
and
feel like summer.
It will feel like summer.
Okay.
Oh, do you think so? You really think so?
We hope so.
My favorite kind of art is a picture that you keep coming back to, and you've been looking at it for years, and it's like a relative, and you keep going back to it, and you look at it. And one of my favorite things is a portrait of this old man that is praying, and actually he has a little piece of bread.
Yeah.
And I have that in my house. I've had it for 50 years. And I keep going back to it, and every time I pass it, I get this warm feeling that I know what he's saying. He's an old grizzly man.
That's a famous photograph.
And
that
he's like taking a few minutes to be thankful for the bread and the little cup of soup he has. And that is like, I keep looking at that.
Well, it's very religious. It's a very spiritual.
And that's a Minnesota family. I think that it's actually a photograph, I believe, but
Yes,
I
it's
could be
originally a
wrong.
photograph.
But it's a Minnesota family. I don't have the name at my fingertips, but that is a beautiful piece, and
I
it does
love it.
strike a chord.
It does.
It's been in my family history too.
Sure.
In my grandparents' home, and then my mother and dad's home. And I don't have it up now, but I own it too.
Yeah, I love
Because
it.
it was just always part of
Yeah,
our
that
family.
is a great
And it's just a print. I don't even know where I got it from, but I've had it for a very, very long time.
But it affects you here,
It does.
and that's what art
It
is supposed
does.
to do.
And my grandmother and people in my family, they each had something that they like. I have a picture that she had, and it's two hands holding the Bible that is open to the 10 Commandments. And she found great comfort in that picture up until she died. She had to have it where she could see it on the wall at all times. So art affects people in different ways. My grandchildren do all kinds of art and painting and sand art, and they just I like to have them explore all of that stuff.
Has a profound effect. Well, we've run out of time, but thank you all for being here today and joining in on this discussion. And thank you for watching. We'll see you again on Generations.